he's been a great champion for us as well, speaking at different functions and talking to other customers and helping us kind of pioneer this new wave of custom apps for the iPad. So with that, we'll introduce you to Ben.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. Afternoon, everyone. So I'm Ben. Spent the last 9 years with Red Bull, North America, Asia Pacific, and in Europe. And last month I've been working with Pabst Brewing Company. And just an idea, is everyone here using Box currently? Anyone not using Box? That's probably the better question. Not yet? So 2, okay. And is anyone using developing custom applications? Planning? iPad? iPhone? Android? Both? Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll just walk you through a bit of our journey. Now, first disclaimer, I'm not a developer, so I'm not going to go deep into the API. I'm looking at how we got to the API, what were our limitations and what we were trying to do. And I'm presenting from the iPad just for simplicity, so it's not as nice as the little clicking. I'll do some scrolling. All right, so our goal, and I mentioned this morning, we really wanted to streamline the focus of our sales team and get them focused on what the conversation is with the client and with the accounts. And we focus this on our what we call the on-premise market. So these people going to nightclubs and meeting with owners and the bar managers and all that. It's kind of the hip and cool crowd. And it was, it looks pretty ordinary. You're rocking in with your Lenovo laptop and trying to present this really cool stuff that Red Bull has. Red Bull has a lot of content. What I was showing you before that, while we were waiting here, that was all on the iPad in the application. So they can walk in, they can have all this content at their fingertips and not have to think. And that was kind of the biggest challenge. So we looked at streamlining their conversation, getting them out of this day-to-day funk that they were in, and getting them focused on their job. So then we had to look at, what devices were we going to support? And it's a big question you need to answer because your development costs can double or triple depending on just a simple decision. And it kind of sucks, but it's the space we're in. HTML5, it's going to get there for sure, but there are limitations right now. And we did this application, it was a year ago now. So we made a decision, we could standardize on iPads. And back then, the Android market was very splintered. It will always be splintered. And it was very, very new. So we made an executive decision, we're just going to support iPads to get this thing started. It works. We could push it out the door very quickly. And we didn't see any real limitations. So that was nice. If you can get to that decision, it's going to help your development. We also looked at, okay, what if we wanted to support other devices? And you can build, you can use tools like Antenna. I'm not sure if everyone's seen Antenna Dexterra. So it's basically an app framework you can build on and deploy to multiple devices. But then you're looking at, supporting infrastructure and doing all that. So we took the simple approach. Let's just build native iPad app. And before we got to the actual application, we actually looked at using the Box client itself, the Box iPad app. And what we found was a few issues. Number one, don't assume that everyone's going to know how to use an iPad. It really dumbfounded me a little bit. My 2-year-old is seriously on an iPad doing YouTube. It's crazy. And we were giving these out to business people, and some of them didn't get it. And it was good for us because it was in our pilot group. That's what we wanted to get back. So we knew we couldn't just throw them at everyone, and it's going to stick. And it was probably about a third, and a third. So a third got it, ran with it. We never talked to them. Another third were like, you know, what's 3G, what's Wi-Fi, what's the difference? What's this swipey thing? And the other third were just completely lost. So it was an interesting exercise. Okay, 3G sucks. Yeah. All right. Now, first, actually, the Box app. So we rolled out with the Box app. It was immediate. So we bought the iPads, gave everyone the Box app, and ran with it. And the challenge we found there with our end users was that they had to think. And as much as you can be structured, a lot of people aren't. So they were walking into a client that had a 100 meg video that they wanted to show the latest and greatest, and they'd sit there trying to stream it over 3G through the Box app. It's never going to work. Okay, so everyone's complaining this sucks, and it doesn't work. So we after that we got very quickly to the point. Okay, they're not going to change their business process. We need to help them do that, and we went down to this a standardized application, that customized application, I should say. So the 3G. Yeah, it really does suck. The coverage, you're never going to get good coverage anywhere, I don't think. It's great for email, it's great for a bit of web browsing, but when you're dealing with large files, you don't want to be relying on 3G. So we turned to a native application, and it was a pretty natural progression to look at, okay, we're already using Box, so what do they have? And our developers are actually based out of Austria. Red Bull is an Austrian company. It's not Australian, that's what everyone thinks. And so we turned to their API, and literally within 2 days, the lead developer had worked out their API, worked out how to do a login, and suck down the information to the iPads. So what we ended up with was people in the field not having to think. They just had to go onto Wi-Fi, and it would download all their information that they needed. They didn't have to be, save this file, save that file, save this folder. So it really made it simple. And then we could brand the application as we needed and really fit it into our brand image. And Red Bull's very brand image driven. All right, so I'm going to flip over to the application itself. So this is what the end user sees when they first log in to the application. It's your regular everyday Box login. And they would be set up, obviously, as a user. We set all these users up as read-only. No one in sales could actually go in and change the folder structure and mess around with it. There was one person who could upload all the different content, but they actually never logged into the web of Box either. So we kept them very focused on this as your device. The end goal for us with iPads is to remove laptops. So we didn't want to start with, here's your files, you can sync your personal files and get them into those habits, because we didn't want them to have a laptop. And that's a whole different presentation of how to remove a laptop from a sales guy, but it's not easy. Yeah, definitely. So log in here, and I've got 2 different apps because I didn't want to do a live demo. But trust me, you log in, and then so you'll see up here we've got some simple never updated. So now it's checking on Box. It's looking at the different folder structures, and it's seeing what's new and also what's to delete. So it's very simple. Most of the guys don't know it's there. And then you can have a choice. So once it's there, and we did mess around with 3G and no 3G, and so we suppress this image on the production release when they're on 3G, so it actually never downloads anything. So we're not pushing all that data over expensive lines. So yeah, you get a choice. We will download later. So what's in there? We looked at the concept of they should be able to do everything they need to do in front of the client today. So we set up all the point of sale, we set up all the media, different forms that they need. We have presentations in there, so it's not just the big media files, the videos and everything. We do have PowerPoint presentations, PDFs, we have different forms, and these are all administrated just by this one user in sales. And so it brings up everything, and it's a instant on, so you don't have to wait, and this is all just persisting on the device, so we don't need to worry about anything to do with data connections. Like we've done of a nightclub, which a lot of them are, and get access to the information. The folder structure, this is all linked, so we have different images. These are all folders in box. So this corresponds to the folder structure in box, and then obviously the files. I didn't download any, of course. I was focusing on the movies. Yeah, so that's all linked up. And I have talked too fast. So I'm living and breathing box, so I'm doing the presentation. And we had a small team on this, project management, business analysts, the news guide guys, and visual design, user interface design. And you know, end to end, it really took us about 2 months to really make this application brand worthy, let's call it. Technically, it was done in days. And then we spent most of our time getting the images right, getting it approved by marketing, and going through that whole process. So any questions? Because I have run too fast.
So how much of it was the news team versus your guys' internal development actually making that happen?
None internal. So we had one person at Noose who did the development, one person doing the user interface design, and we didn't do any. No, not at the start. Not for our first one. We did a couple of others later, but no, we kept it external.
Do you have any plans for additional? And would you use them again, or are you going to go and try to do some of your own development?
The second app we built, we did ourselves, and it's all about, you know, upskilling your team as usual, and the project schedules. And so the second app we wanted to do very quickly, and our guy was available, so we did it. And that was kind of like it's a custom CRM, basically, application with routing information and all of that. The third application we did was actually integrating Box and DocuSign. And so we were pushing the forms management to the next level to get electronic signatures. And so we could, you know, be in front of a customer, sign the agreement with DocuSign, and then store it in Box. So we had that the life cycle of Box of the document. Yeah.
On the technical side, how did you have to add extra security layers in this implementation, or you just went with really what came out of the box?
No pun intended.
Sorry?
And no pun intended. Okay, so.
Did you do like sample type of integration with the APIs?
We didn't get to that, but as part of our bigger box implementation, we are actually in the process of, we used OneLogin, which is the same as Okta, and we looked at both of those, and at that time, OneLogin didn't have an app to handle single sign-on on the iPad, so we chose not to. But it's a very good point, because we did go through a lot of questions on security and how do you secure apps on the iPad. And it's a bit of a challenge, because you don't want, if you look at, a couple years down the track, 20 different applications and people having to have 20 different passwords. We've just gone back to where we didn't want to be with the PC world. So we took the stand at the start that we have to secure the device first. Let's start that as our baseline, have remote wipe capabilities, and from there, once you're in, you're in. So.
What's the cost difference between doing it on Box and starting it from
we couldn't really start it from, because we didn't have the infrastructure. So when we looked at what we have from our file sharing capabilities, we had connections, Lotus Connections, which has a files component. We had a product called SourceForge, which is more for development side, but they have this document management. So we had all these little things, but no one provided the API that we could actually plug in and the infrastructure to do it. And like I said, we didn't have to do anything. The developer got the API and ran with it. So.
What's their final cost?
To develop the application itself, it was about $30,000. Yeah.
Again, back to the security
Uh-huh.
layer, is your application, does it need to have limited views to what you're entitled to see, or that's not really required?
That's not required for this application. So you either have access to the sales group, so we provision the application, and you have a profile that lets you, get the application and download it. If you're not in that, you'll never see it, and then you have to have your Box login. So if you don't have access to Box and log into that page, you won't be able to get the data down. Yeah.
In an application, you're actually using a sync for the iPad to store all your files locally on the iPad.
Correct.
And that's why instantaneously you have the sales guys download it through Wi-Fi. And then
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah, so it's persisting all the data on the device, so we don't have to hit the 3G links.
And then how are you pushing the app for your sales group on the iPad?
We used AirWatch to implement for the mobile device management, and we can push out the profile, so you have a user profile, an application profile that's signed, and you can expire that and they don't get access to the application. And then when you delete the application, it deletes all the data as well, which is, it's a little bit of a, when you first roll out the app, we got up to about 6 gig of data that they were downloading, so you had to think, it's going to take, depending on your pipe, how long it's going to take when you download it. And I got caught out a few times trying to do demos, and I'd put the new update of the app and there'd be no data there. So.
What are the different levels of the API?
I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I didn't get to that level. I can find out for you. Yeah, for sure. Any other questions? Got 5 minutes left. I can show you more videos of Brazil playing volleyball.
Why don't you say it, Joe?
So the
All right, sorry.
yeah.
Just on user experience, you talked
Yeah.
about 2-year-old and talked about the users. Can you talk a little bit about how you deployed and what you had to do to get people comfortable with the new?
Yeah, so in the pilot, we literally said, here's your iPad, and here's your app, and go and use it. So we wanted to be a purist, I guess, from a user interface design standpoint, and follow the mantra of the cloud is easy and apps should be easy, and we don't need to train anyone anymore. It didn't work for everyone. So what we asked the business people to do was to set up the traditional approach with train the trainer type stuff and talk people through it and explain the difference between 3G and Wi-Fi. And we had users who just didn't turn on Wi-Fi. Why? Why do I need to? So there is that education there because it costs you a hell of a lot of money if you don't. Until the bills start coming in, yeah, they don't do it. So yeah, we had to do a bit of traditional, and it really annoyed us, but it is.
Have you thought about expanding the use outside of your Salesforce to your distribution network and how that might work either through the Box platform, maybe not through iPad because they may have different devices, how they would leverage that?
Yeah, strategically our approach was not to provide mobile tools for our distribution network. So we really focused on more of an extranet, intranet approach. And we were going down the path of, so we were WebSphere Portal Shop, so starting to integrate that through the RESTful API so that we could have the same information in both places. Yeah, so we didn't want to get into the mobile game.
So when you look at the app, the sort of left-hand navigation was kind of hard-coded into the app, but you'd said that inside of that you were basically in a box folder, and then it was therefore sort of extensible as you went further and further down to allow the marketing team to pop new structures in, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So this was the first generation release was to pretty much hard code that, like you're saying. What we wanted to get to was using the tag component of Box so that we could have a lot more dynamic content and not have to go back to developers.
Right.
One was that was going to take more time for us to do. And two, we actually had to train the business on what tagging was.
Yeah.
And how to use it. I know it's strange, but we had tag clouds like this for one file because they were just copying and pasting everything in. So it didn't make any sense.
And the thumbnails, some things pulled thumbnails through the API, but others it looks like you've kind of got like default generic ones.
Yeah.
How did you?
So these, anything that's a movie or an image is pulling the thumbnails across. We have, so this one here with the clipboard, this is actually an error. I know that won't work because they've put something wrong in the file name and we'd have to go and fix that. These ones are actually applications that we built on the iPad. So it's about giving that one environment so they knew. And if we had PowerPoint, it would be a PowerPoint logo and all of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you developed this as an app, and you chose not to do it in HTML5. I'm curious why.
At the time, we weren't confident that we'd get the controls we wanted over the OS for HTML5, and so we decided it was easier just to use the native application. Yeah. But now, a year later, I would be pushing them to the HTML5. Yeah, it's also easier, if, like I said, if you're never going to have Androids, and Red Bull probably never will, then why not? It's a different environment there. Control. Anyone else? All done? All sold? Excellent. Thank you very much.